I reached out to the guy that portrayed you in Dark Side of the Ring. His name is Megabyte Ronnie, and,
Mhm.
before I move on with that, I do wanna ask, what did you think of, Ronnie's performance in Dark Side of the Ring?
Well, I thought it was great. I mean, I thought the way the kind of the vibe that they shot the whole thing in, like a '80s kind of weird pop cultural series of some sort, and everything blurry. And I just thought I thought they did a great job. I love when they showed the animation of how they made the little car on the treadmill turn it around, and how they made the thing. Because I said, man, how did they do that? That was cool. It's,
Absolutely incredible.
yeah, but
Yeah, guys, go to the Dark Side of the Ring social media. I saw that they shared that there. You can watch how they actually made that happen. It's really, really fascinating.
yeah, no, those guys were super, and they're doing some stories on some of my other friends. They got the piece coming out on JYD, I think, next week, and
Yes.
and I love Dog. He was somebody really special to me in Mid South that kind of took me under his wing, and great human being.
Well, the reason I said that what you were saying before about life after wrestling really kind of ties in perfectly is so I reached out to him a couple days ago just to see if he had anything he'd like to say to you. And what he told me was that he loved having the opportunity to learn your story and portraying you was just a huge honor for him. But also, unfortunately, right after shooting that show, he found out that he had two slipped discs and a crushed disc, so he had to retire from professional wrestling. So portraying you was the last thing that he did. So
Oh my goodness!
yes, so that statement that you made about life after wrestling and rising up and the impact that you can make on people, it's just, man, perfectly fitting for the gentleman that portrayed you in Dark Side of the Ring.
Well, you ought to give me his information so I could reach out to him, because that's very cool. That's very. I mean, it's very surreal for something like that to happen, especially portraying what he did. But yeah, that's. I mean, there is no. People have said to me, "Oh, would you have felt better if you'd gone on to been the world's champion multiple times and blah 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 blah." And I can tell you definitively that there's nothing that I could have accomplished that would make the day to day life that I live and the things that I cope with every day better. Saying you're a 17 times world champion when now your accomplishments are measured completely different. It doesn't really make a difference. It's good that if you think about the fact that I started in January of 1980, and I was really introduced to the world behind the scenes in October of '79. Before I made my way around there, I was almost my whole time with wrestling was encapsulated in almost 7 years to the date. And so to have gone from there to there, and had a tremendous feud with Wrestling 2 in Mid South, and came in and got to wrestle the legendary Wahoo McDaniels, who dropped the U.S. title to me in front of a sold out crowd in Charlotte, North Carolina. And to then finally reaching the epitome of performing in Norfolk Scope, where I grew up and close to Chesapeake, with two sets of grandparents in the stands, my mom and dad, sold out arena, Ric Flair for an hour in a steel cage. You know, those kind of things are like storybook things. And I
Yes.
experienced all that in a little capsule of time to where they say if you have, one career defining moment that people remember, like Mick Foley getting thrown off the top of the cage. He's taken so many falls, nobody will ever know. But when you think of him, you think about that moment, and he had
Yes.
that. And I was fortunate enough to have moments with Rick that he withstood the test of time. And the I Quit match series with Tully that we've been talking about for 35 years now, and then the best of seven with Nikita Koloff. So, I got enough subject matter in a very short period of time that it's given me a lot of time to tell stories about for the last 35 years.
Pretty incredible to think that something, you did all those years ago and in such a small period of time, to your point. I mean, you're still being celebrated. People still come out and see you at your signings. Just really remarkable that that you had such an impact in such a small window.
You know, it's a blessing, and it was a season. But certainly, when you become part of that family that I was and still am part of, there's so many emotional ties, and it's like a fabric being weaved together. You never totally depart yourself from it, no matter what. And I love going to these shows for that reason, to be able to see my friends that are still with us, and celebrate today, not just yesterday, but the fact that we're all still here in the game of life.